Hi, welcome to the presentation on lifespan communication and computer media communication technology. Okay, so just as a quick introduction to the topic, these days many children are raised with computers in the home, so it's not surprising that 1-year-olds bang away on keyboards and that 3-year-olds know how to send emails. Learning sites like Bob the Builder and Teletubbies, which have music and learning games, make computing exciting and interactive for children. Associated websites, television networks too, offer games, stories, music and many more activities. This extract shows the typical perception of the state of things at the very early age of the communication lifespan process. It shows that more and more often, children of a young age are being exposed to those vital technologies used in aiding CMC development and general social application of, which can only help advance and improve their understanding and ability to perform with and make use of such technologies at a much more competent level, that little bit greater later on in life. Thus, it shows that the foundations are now in place for a good grounding point on the lifespan communications timeline, if you will. Whereas if you fast forward a few generations or so, you get this kind of conception instead. Silver surfers, or the elderly, are representative of people from generations that came of an age long before the computer era. Those whose identities were formed without the internet and who are therefore understandably sometimes distant to the notion of CMC. However, many elderly people, especially those who are isolated, do find themselves drawn to CMC as a means of staying in touch with family or simply keeping up to date in their communities. Therefore, in this case, this particular extract is showing the complete opposite to the above extract, in an almost fully short contrast to the promising development shown from an early age that the younger children are achieving and fulfilling. It's showing that due to perhaps levels of preconditioning that has gone before them, from many decades of different lifestyles, some of which may have been influenced by the technology, or lack of, available or in use at any one given particular time, that this has perhaps caused the resistance and lack of willing to learn new technologies that we are said to be seeing here. Some hands have been forced, of course, to take a different viewpoint depending on how society depends on them to do so, i.e. a tech-savvy family relations, for instance. This short contrast and perhaps conflict in ability and interest shown could be down to 3 or 4 particularly key areas that could be a basis for otherwise further personal development. In more specific terms, there are 3 key age groups along the lifespan communication timeline, of which all have differing specifics when it comes to a mixture of key criteria. In this case, this will be therefore dependent on the different uses or online activities, the different level of expertise or ability, the different amount of time spent using the technology, i.e. being exposed to or having access to, and also the different social reliance and wants or needs of each group also. Therefore, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to be looking at the entirety of the communication lifespan within CMC, which ranges from very young children through teenagers, young adults and adults, and to the elderly also, providing an extension to each of the areas discussed above, whilst looking at the activities, the expertise and ability, the volume of time spent using CMC, as well as the social reliance or usage of each. Okay, so for the 3 groups, I believe the first of the key areas will be the different uses or activities. More specifically, for children, it will probably be educational, be it fun learning, but still the basis of core, curriculum skill building, or social interaction with peers of the same age. Perhaps even a mix of some small light entertainment, possibly online games or listen to music. For the teens, young adults and adults grouping, again educational, but this time more inclined towards research, similar to this assignment's purposes really. Again social interaction with peers, but developed further still in organising events and nights out, etc., as well as extending those social networks in both physical and online or virtual sense through making new friends, relations and contacts. Internet banking could be considered as a usage for this age group, so could online shopping, music, be it downloads of gig tickets, reviews, etc. And again, entertainment, which could be various activities really, principally stuff like YouTube, other video media based areas, games, but of a more advanced or challenging level, perhaps use of Xbox Live, which again is an example of online multiplayer gaming. News and sport updates, etc. could also be seen as possible uses of CMC. But really I'm just skimming the surface. For the elderly, it will be similar to the previous group, although likely that the educational research undertaken will be out of curiosity more than an actual academic requirement. The social interaction and extending the social networks will have some effect, but more so used just so that communications between existing social networks or contacts can be maintained more easily, rather than actively pursuing new ones. Internet banking and or online shopping is still very much a possibility, although if they prefer to be able to always feel or see the product or finances in front of them, then perhaps they'll still prefer the physical touch, but only by and large through physical contact and communication itself. Entertainment in terms of music and games, especially downloading music files on competing in multiplayer gaming tournaments online, are unlikely, but not necessarily a definite no-go. The need to be kept up to date will still be apparent, and so news and sports updates will no doubt be at the forefront of the Silver Surface activity whilst online. The next of these key areas will be the different level of expertise or ability for each user group. In particular for children, they are most likely to have the least fundamental ability or expertise, although perhaps on a par with the elderly age group when it comes to communication and CMC, and of course computers and the internet in general, but they also like to have the highest development rate of the skills and knowledge required in order to gain an understanding of how to use the tools provided in order for CMC use to be successful, due to the way in which the child's brain structure at this age can aid with development of such facilities. Although this is all, of course, still dependent on the level of exposure to using and being involved within CMC, as mentioned previously, that a particular child receives. As for the teens, young adults and adults group, which is our group, we, should be likely to have the more developed and more refined level of expertise or ability due to various factors, some of which will be self-taught, something which some experts claim is the reason so many young hackers and internet detrimentalists can cause chaos and havoc worldwide. And some will only be developed to such a level of understanding and ability due to previous exposure to the technology from a young age. This exposure could be seen to have an adverse effect on the ability to interact socially in the real world, if not constructed properly, but at the same time it could be argued that this ability to communicate very well in a virtual or online world can only further extend and aid the ability to socially interact with persons to a much higher and greater level, a much more flexible level, which can only help demonstrate how much higher a level of expertise or ability a person of the age group can develop into being at. For the elderly, again similar to that of the first of these three groups, which is the children group, it is likely that those persons in this age group will have a lower expertise standing or level of ability than that of the second group, purely because of the generations ahead of the specific tools required for this technology to work, having been developed and so are not used to the way in which it works, or indeed have not been conditioned upon the same technological tools or method types. They therefore will not have been exposed to technology from a young age either, and so perhaps struggle to adapt, circumstances depending, which will in turn ensure that when they're sure that to have the lowest level of expertise and or ability of the three age groups when it comes to communication usage within CMC. For the third of the key areas, in relation to the communication lifespan, this would be the different volume or amount of time spent using